So we should have our priorities. So in these fourfold practices that I have, we have been discussing and understanding. The first is the discernment. Discernment makes the intellect very clear. There is a clarity, there is a knowledge. One beautiful, women are always beautiful. That's why beautiful women just attended the session before our current session. So she says, I was going to ask, she was with her friend and they are in the field of acting. So her friend told that, no, 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 I will not ask you to play a part. So she was saying that, she responded that, okay, no worries. But later on, when she was discussing with me, she said that I said no worries. So speech was good. And but when I returned home, I was feeling so sad and reactive. So where the discernment comes? So Eastern wisdom says you have this discernment at the physical level. You did not slap that guy. Second, discernment at the verbal level. You spoke with all the sweetness, no worries. So you have to play discernment at the level of mind, what is going on in the mind. And there comes the role of dispassion. So you see that how it works. We all are seekers now. So result is dispassion. Second, who does all this discernment and dispassion? Intellect inside and a seeker outside. If you are not a seeker, you will say, okay, let me enjoy it. And she further said, then you know what happened? I came to my house and my mind said, let me have a glass of wine. From one glass to two glass to three glass. Why? To escape the problem in the mind. Now, we take it, it's okay, but to escape from the problem, it means we are not in the practice of dispassion. So, as you understand knowledge and behavior, we are bridging the gap, but not all the gap is bridged. So, we have the six treasures. Six treasure, inner treasure of the mind. Sama, relax, calm, equanimity of the mind is the first treasure. We discussed in detail. Dhamma, sensory control. It is not a suppression. We cultivate a new habit and replace old habit. And we already covered the third one, oparama. Oparama frees us from our likes and dislikes. Huh? That dictates our behavior. And ultimately, behavior leads to a particular attitude and a personality. But last session, we discussed what is to be done has to be done. What is my duty? There is no excuse at all. I am a seeker, I have to learn. Not from me, but I have to learn from within your mind. Did you understand? I'm a student. I must perform the duty of a student. I'm a teacher. I must perform the duty of a student. I'm a husband. So when I'm in front of my honey, I must play my role. Otherwise, problem 10 years ago, soulmate, now soulmate. You see, I get punished. If I don't perform my duty, I will be punished. And if I perform, just play my role. So gradually, what happens? Your behavior and attitude changes. No, I have to play my role in the world. So that is what we did. So understand again the discernment put intellect into service. So the mind remains in the background with its impulsive nature, instinctive. So what happens? Power of discernment clears lot of challenges of impulses. Then we move into discernment, dispassion. So dispassion and then sixth treasure. So now is the fourth treasure. The name of the fourth treasure is Titiksha. Titiksha, it has many words in English. Endurance, enduring sorrow and happiness, cold and heat. Enduring pairs of opposites at physical level, at mental level, at speech level, at emotional level. It's very hot today. Who doesn't know that it's not? It's very hot today in Arizona. And next point is very impulsive. It's very hot today. Let me rush and do this and that. No. So our master says now, with having a power of discernment and dispassion, I must have an endurance. Endurance at all four levels. Do you still remember I used to tell there is a storm outside? Should I fight with the storm or should I rush inside the home and enjoy calmness? Physical example. Definitely, we should rush inside. Do you rush your mind inside when there is emotional opposites, hate and love, likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure? Do you rush your mind inside also? That is endurance. Because of our ego, how dare you say that? Nature will teach you a good lesson. How dare you say that? Do you remember? Do you understand that point? It is the ego that flashes. How dare you say that? Nature will say to you everything. So, endurance gives first the knowledge, it gives me the level of awareness, and it maintains the calm. And then we say it's okay, it's a part of the life. Someone will appreciate, someone will not. So, what happens? It prevents the impulsive mind to enter into reaction, blame, and complaint game. We have to understand this. Now, understand from a second point of view is nature nurtures. One part is good, but forces us to endure. Why to endure? To evolve. So, endurance is for my own evolution. So, let us become selfish. Why to harm others? Why to react? Or live your life. My master used to guide us take this world lightly in relationship, in possessing something, in owning something. Take this world lightly. That is endurance here. That is the word titiksha means. What that means, I take the world lightly. Endurance, if practiced at the conscious level, frees one from lamenting, reaction, agitation. See that. Another part that is also understand, you see that we feel so much heat nowadays in our state, Arizona, natural. That is why Kate does not want to be here. Better suffer in snow. Suffering is always there. Endurance has to be understood clearly. Now, see that so much of heat and related to endurance. One example, it helps me to evolve and adapt myself. So, when you take it consciously, so I record what I wanted to speak. These masters deliberately, consciously, deliberately, consciously, and peacefully, they chose to go to the Himalayas, the snow clad Himalaya. The word Himalaya means snow cladded mountains. So they used to go there to check what is their endurance level. That is the goal. It is not that, I went to the Himalayas, I'm sitting in the cave is air conditioned, and then I'm learning. No, that does not make a difference. Another part that is extremely, again, very important. My master, when I was in Gangotri, it was 12,000 feet above the sea level. And September and October, it was very cold. So he asked us that why don't you go to that monastery where the guy is keeping his body until this level, until the shoulder level. Only his head is outside the snow. So we saw, we pay our respect, and we return. And then he said, "What is your learning?" I was very young. I'm still young, You don't go by my gray beard. So, so I said, he seems to be a great master. He said, he's a crazy guy. He is demonstrating his endurance to the people for earning money. His goal is not right. No, but you offer always, you ask us to offer milk and other stuff to him. He said to keep my mind free. What he needs, let us supply. We have an abundance. Don't learn endurance in that way. No, I have tolerated you for so long. My dear friend Bill Gates, 27 years of loveless life he tolerated. That is not endurance. Understand, be very clear. This mind, make the mind like very flexible. Let it jump immediately. Become aware. Drop that idea of reaction. Whether it is at the physical level, whether it is at the mental level, whether it is at the emotional level. No, when we follow that consciously, it happens. Don't worry that it will not happen. It happens in your personal life, in your professional life, in your social life. We will definitely encounter almost every day pairs of opposites, likes and dislikes, heat and cold, pain and pleasure, honor and dishonor, hate and love. It is the nature of the world. You see that? So you are separating the world in which we think, speak, and work. What will happen one day? You will see that the world does not live in me. I continue to live in this world. Impulsive, habitual, and instinctive reaction only comes when this world lives in me. Think of it. You always relax. You wake up in the morning in rest. You sleep in the rest. You talk in the rest. You walk in the rest. Think of that state. Dream, visualize what a kind of life you will be living. And compare it with what you have and what you have not. So, haves and have nots do not create any challenges in your. See the beauty. I believe you all are understanding. That is the power. So, the word titiksha is also used, and the word tapa is also used for this. You can say tapatitiksha. So another master speaks of this from another text. He says, cheerfully enduring them by examining by intellect. Arizona heat, examining by intellect. It is Arizona. Heat must be there. Let me take care. Finished. Means what? Cheerfully, no blame, no complaint. To tell you my personal preference, I always like cold weather. So the preference should be understood clearly. It pertains at the physical level. So my preference should be replaced by the right knowledge. Cheerful. What is the process of this endurance? Take an example of a doctor. If you have a pain, we go to the doctor, he examines where is the pain, he finds the focus of the pain, where it is, in which particular organ, what are the symptoms. Similarly, we should examine these pairs of opposites. Now, I hate Kate. For example, Kate, example, don't see. So I have to examine in my mind what is that hate, and you will come to the conclusion it is purely impulsive. So by titiksha, you endure cheerfully in your personal life, in your professional life, in your social life. You will see your mind is totally free, totally free. We experience and we claim we have a pain in relationship, in business, in personal. You can deal with endurance. Reject the instinctive thought. I'm in pain, I'm a failure, my life is destroyed by relationship, loveless life. Don't go there. It is not required for a seeker. Simple thing. Now you all are seekers. It is not required. Not at all required in my life. So it means I examine what is that instinctive, habitual, impulsive nature of the mind, and then I endure it cheerfully. Socrates had a cruel wife. Huh? Cruel wife. And he used to go to his house with his hundreds of students. I forgot his one of the great student that he had. He also became a great philosopher. So after 10 years of learning from the Socrates, his student asked him, should I marry? Socrates said, get married immediately. But then there was the next question from the student. I have been to your house hundred of times, and every time I went, your wife used to throw sometime the stick and sometime all the utensils. You get hurt, I got hurt. And you are talking of that I should leave, I should get married. Power of endurance. All the principles are same. So Socrates smiled and he said, get married. If you by chance you get a good wife, your worldly life will be better. And you have already learnt everything, so your spiritual life will also be better. Well, by chance you get a wife like mine. It applies to husband also, bear with me, I'm not complaining. So if you get a chance that you get a wife like me, the world will get another Socrates. That is the power of endurance. Live your life lightly. That is the main message my master used to give. This is what the endurance of all the pain. Why? Because to find my real self, my mind must be clear, empty, clean, so that I should be able to follow the journey of the Eastern wisdom. What is the goal of Eastern wisdom? Just contemplate and reflect, end of suffering of all kinds, awakening to real self. That is the two goal. There is no third goal. Endurance of all the pains I just talked about, and Eastern wisdom deals in detail. Those who are teachers in this profession, they know we say adi bhautik, physical suffering, we say mental suffering, and we say suffering because of the natural calamities. You look at it, we just experience Ida or Ida. We say Ida or Ida, I don't. Endurance is the key. What happened, happened. We cannot control. We tried to save ourselves, and still thousands of houses were gone. Huh? Perhaps. So you see that endurance, natural calamities, physical suffering, mental suffering, three types of suffering. Another part that we should understand in this titiksha and or tapa, or you can say endurance. Sometimes what happens that we do not find a solution. I gave you a couple of examples. People have sometimes a naturally inbuilt level of endurance. That we have a problem and we don't find a remedy. And then we continue wasting our time. Have you seen, and you might have met, or you have read, that sometimes people suffer from cancer and the doctor said 6 months and they have been still living? Endurance. So it is the endurance that changes the entire mental state. And when you change the mental state, it affects the body. That is another meaning of endurance, my friends. Another level of endurance is also to keep the mind pure. Why? Goal is end of suffering and awakening. Another level of endurance. You go to a friend, and maybe a friend or anyone, you had a relationship, you had a lot of loss, you come back home, the mind says, let God kill him. Mind impulsively create that attitude. That is where we have to apply the endurance. I will not be unconscious in dealing with the people next time. That is endurance. Let God kill him. That is not endurance. We should not have that attitude. Why? Because it will create all these impressions again. So we have to prevent that. My master used to say, never curse anyone. That also comes under endurance. When we curse, when the mind says, now you are helpless, that state of the mind comes from the impulses. No murmuring, no cursing. See that? Tapa, titiksha, the fourth level. Uh, fourth level. This is what is all about. Titiksha, endurance. Whatever you say. So what happens? My master, my Guruji used to say that you get an emotional immunity. I use the word immunity. Emotional immunity, or you can say a psychological immunity you get in your life. What is psychological immunity? With the small things, you take it lightly. It doesn't affect you. Oh, you look crazy. Yes, I'm more crazy than you think. Finished. Emotional immunity, psychological immunity. Check, my friends, check that if we don't have this immunity and somebody has said you something, you holding on that thought for days and weeks together. That is wasting your time. Do you see that? A beautiful word, when I still remember psychological immunity, emotional immunity. Emotional and psychological immunity is one of the greatest benefit we get by endurance, by titiksha, by tolerating cheerfully, by understanding at the level of the intellect. It leads to dispassion, and dispassion, I live in calmness, sensory control, and then operama. I'm getting free from the likes and dislikes. In that state, the endurance becomes such a great power. One woman, I remember the last point that I was talking, and there were all women there, and in New Jersey, long back in Princeton. So when women asked me, it doesn't mean that, do you tolerate your husband? So she was coming out about her problem impulsively. So by impulses, you don't know what you're going to say. I smiled and I said, I didn't say that. Who said that? You should tolerate your husband. No women should tolerate it. Now I have to calm her down. And then she realized what she spoke in front of everyone. Do you see that? There, then every women started talking about her. You see that? She poses herself to be so good. So, psychological immunity. Do not split the personality, your attitude. That is extremely important in our journey of the Eastern wisdom. Yeah, you got it. So let us start our practice now, my friends.